so 5:15, can I get a motion to open the meeting?
I make a motion to open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, we don't have a specific agenda today, but we did want to talk about the now existence of 8 new licenses. I guess at this point, before we move on, is there anyone here who open up for a public speak? Is there anyone here who would like to have any comments at all whatsoever about anything? No? Okay. Just remind you, this is not a public hearing. So if you do wish to ask questions, you can, but this is not necessarily a public forum, so to speak. We're just going to be discussing these licenses at this point. So, as we all know, all 4 of us at least, that the state legislature has approved an additional 8 essentially out-of-quota licenses. Now, I'm sorry.
You can do it. Yeah, that's just.
So I guess, I mean, one is I did want to review existing licenses. You don't have a list handy, do you? Could you just run off with it? While she's doing that, we can just while Nicolette's doing that. So I'm sure that the 2 of you have had a chance to read this. Now, this comes as a direct result of the City Council Ordinance Subcommittee just acting on their own to see what they could do about getting extra licenses in the city. And after holding public hearings and sending it off to the state legislature, it was approved, signed by the governor, as you see, so that we do now currently have 8 approved out-of-quota licenses. Now, I think we also are aware, and it is written into the language, that, and I'll read it to you, the license authority of the city of East Hampton may grant additional licenses for the sale of all alcoholic beverages to be drunk on the premises pursuant to section 11 said chapter 138, provided, however, that the license authority shall give preference to establishments located in the Mill Industrial District and the Downtown Business District, as those districts are defined on the city zoning map, which is on blah, 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 blah. The license authority may consider applications for licenses for establishments located in other districts after preference has been given to establishments in the Mill Industrial District and the Downtown Business District. So of course, I think that begs the question, well, how exactly is that supposed to work? I have asked on my own, asked questions of people who were involved in the drafting of this language, which the language I've been told from the city council is pretty much identical to what was written into this. So while the intent isn't necessarily clearly defined, well, I think it's clearly defined, but how to act on the intent, I don't think is all that clear. The spirit of it is written directly into what went to and was approved by the legislature and the executive in Commonwealth.
Okay.
So that's what we have, and I guess the reason that I wanted to sit down and talk was how exactly we go about doing this. When, if and when we do get applications for all liquor licenses in the city. So, I mean, I guess for me, I'm sorry, Rach.
No, that's okay.
And I think I'm going to ask the same question you're going to bring up, because I think it's the most obvious question is, well, how exactly will this work if we have 8 licenses and we have various people who are applying for these licenses, either one at a time or maybe not one at a time? Are we to believe or understand that the language of this is restricting us from issuing licenses for someone that's outside of the said districts, even if those applications are, you know, thorough and, you know, based on the standards that we have here in town and the ABCC has set up, would be completely appropriate to be approved by the city and then therefore almost always by the ABCC. And then, you know, that begs the second question, well, what happens when, what happens when all but one are gone? Or what happens when all 8 are there and we're getting one at a time? I guess that's my,
Okay.
I just wanted to run by members of the board on how we should.
Well,
sorry,
after-
right.
After I read this a couple times, reading the language, it says, however, the licensing authority shall give preference. It doesn't say may, must give, it says shall, which is totally different.
I think shall and must are kind of the same.
It's kind of the same, but
May
they're
is
not.
different.
We may.
No, it says the license, it says, sorry, it says, it's there.
Shall, that means we, if we want, we can do it.
Shall give preference to establishments located in the middle industrial district.
Yeah, we shall.
But also
Doesn't
says
say
the
we
license-
have to.
But shall kind of means.
It kind of means, but it's
No.
like we can.
Shall does mean, I should say. The license authority may consider applications for license establishments
May.
located outside the district, so.
But
I
we
mean,
may
it's-
not.
True, but I mean, that's, it's not closing the door on,
No.
on anything. But it is still making it fairly clear that, in my mind at least, and that's why we're talking, is in my mind, it says if we have 2 applications in front of us, one of equal, validity, I guess, and one is inside one of these districts and one is not, then I think this makes it clear which one we would approve. That's what I read it. Kelly, I mean, does that sound like the way you read it?
Yeah, but the way I look at it is, if someone wants to go someplace else, let's just say Trickles Market, they're not in the business area. I mean, it's closed now, but say they wanna buy it and open up a nightclub, they're not in the business thing. So how do you go about deciding who gets it?
Right.
Is because, let's just say the gas station over there wants to remodel and open up.
Okay.
It's in downtown business area
Right,
to over to where Trickle Market used to be.
right,
What do you decide?
right.
Because
And-
they're in a downtown,
Well, I think that in, this language makes it pretty clear what we would do in that case.
Yeah.
But where I think it's less clear is, again, we have 8. We have applications that come in one at a time. So, in next month, we get an application for someone who's inside this, who is opening a business or has a business, an existing business inside these districts. And and everything is, you know, everything's in order, and it looks like it's a good idea, and the board votes to approve it. That's easy, right? Because it's the only one in front of us. And then the month after that, we get another one that's inside the district. That's fine, okay? And then the month after that, the month after that, until, okay, we get to the 7th one, right? And someone comes in who's not inside the business district, the business or the middle district. Now, are we to then interpret this as to say, well, hold on, there's only 2 of these left now. So should we be pocketing these and waiting and saying, well, why don't we wait and put out a notice to all businesses or prospective business owners in these 2 districts and say, hey, we only have 2 left. Better come get them now because other people are gonna be looking for them. And if that's the case, then how long are we waiting before we issue these when we get people, say, perhaps we get someone who has a perfectly viable reason to be applying for an all alcohol license? We say no, because, well, we may be able to do this, but we do that, and let's say then we go further down the line, and then there's only one left. And we may be able to issue it, but at that point, well, it's the last one. So, I mean.
I think that
Sorry.
also needs to be considered is the spirit in which the city applied for these. Is it to spur economic growth? Is it to allow existing businesses that have a beer and wine to go for a full? So all those things need to be weighed as well. And then, like you're saying, time frame. Do you put a notice out saying we're accepting applications for 6 months and then wait and see what you get in? So there are a lot of variables to think about, because technically those 8, half of them could be eaten up by existing businesses wanting to switch over. So,
Right, and the other thing we have to keep in mind is the language that's in here about if we give a license, that business goes out, the license comes back to us, but it can only go to the location for which it was. So if they take that building and it's no longer a place where they're gonna serve alcohol, now there's a license that is totally not going to be used, that we cannot, unless they go to the same exact location.
That's not the way, well, yes and no. No, I mean, if that license is no longer gonna be used and it goes back to the city, and it can be reissued, but the way I read
Not
it.
to, it's very specific, it has to be to the same
I know that.
location.
No, I understand that. That means that, I'll read it again, but my, from what I remember when I read it is, yes, in fact, if that license is going to change hands, then it has to stay in that location. But
Right.
if that
Right.
license then ceases to exist, or that business ceases to exist, and no one's buying the business, and the license isn't going anywhere, the license comes back to the city and can be reissued in a different location.
They don't have that in there.
Okay, that's the way, when it says goes back to, let me see if it's.
Yeah, it's bottom-
Maybe I'm
bottom line.
imagining that I said that I read
Bottom
that.
paragraph.
Yeah, see, it's returned to the licensing authority, so I would say.
Mhm.
so
It
re-
says,
if the
then
license.
grant the license to a new applicant at the same location.
Case, yeah.
Everything is the
Oh,
same
okay.
location.
You're right, you're right.
So we have to really think about somebody coming in that's new, and if they're gonna make it, because if they don't, that's a license that's lost to, That-
also the location on where they're,
That's what I
could this
mean.
location possibly turn from commercial to residential
right,
at some point?
well, that's it.
Thank you, Kelly, for clarifying that. It's not the way I read it, but didn't read it
I
correctly.
mean, it's something that you really, I mean, when you're looking at places where they are rental units, where they may not have that same location, that they would not be able to pay the rent there after a while, you know, those things have to be taken into consideration. Or if they're gonna put in for a change of the building, and what they're gonna use the building for.
Hey, thanks for making that a lot harder.
Yeah, and my other, I mean, this is more of a legal question that the city council would have to answer.
Yeah.
When they say location, in the mill buildings, there are, the mill, it's a street address, but within that location, there could be 100 different separate units. So, is it to the building, or is it to the unit inside the building?
I would think, well, it's just a guess, it's the unit, because that's what you're giving it to.
Oh, definitely.
That's something that would have to be clarified probably.
There's no
through
doubt about it, because
ABCC.
it's a licensed premise, so it's a specific area of the building.
So it would be where on the application, the liquor
Because the
license
exist,
application.
the existing licenses that we do have for those kinds of locations, it has to indicate their suite or unit number
Okay.
on that Form
Yeah,
43,
well, I mean,
so.
it makes sense. I mean, if you think about going into Eastworks, I mean, there's 2 licensed areas in Eastwork, or
And
there
they're
was,
either end of
you know,
the
and-
hallways.
Yeah, so, well, there was anyway, but still, it's a specific premise within that building, and that's what it's licensed, so it has to be that
So-
unit, specifically the square footage and the footprint.
So this is my question though, if they wanted to, perfect example with Eastworks, they have the 2 units at either end of the building. If he decides that he wanted to build a larger banquet hall, can he move that license to that larger banquet hall within that building?
Who's that, Kelly? I'm sorry.
I'm not naming a particular person,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking about in the mills. If there is a particular unit that's where they're doing their buffets, benefits, whatever, but then they decide that they're going to build a larger area where they would be having get-togethers, would that license be able to travel over to that area?
I see what you're saying, but
They
no,
have
I
to
mean,
be
I think, but
connected.
I don't think that necessarily is specific to what we're talking about, because they would have that problem regardless
Right.
of whether or not it was an out-of-quota license, you know what I mean? I mean, completely, they would have, I mean, if that was let's say, I'm gonna use the example even though it doesn't exist anymore, Apollo Grill, when it was there, had a license for that spot, and that was not an over-quota license. He had purchased that license.
Right.
Then if he wanted to move Apollo Grill from,
So
no, I'm sorry,
specific
I'm
to
wrong,
this.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, I'm wrong. No,
Yeah.
any out-of-quota licenses, that runs into that problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Any out-of-quota license.
So that has to be taken into, I mean, we have to be very specific when people come in for their applications in the mill buildings, that they can't change that around, because that may happen. Businesses are gonna start up, they're in a smaller area starting up, they do really well, we need a larger area, not necessarily the same unit number in the mill building, but they're moving down the hallway or up a floor to a larger area. The interpretation for this could be, no, they can't.
Right, absolutely. Well, right, maybe you can answer that. If they're going in, would the ABC allow that to be a simple change of premise from an existing, like, because you can have you can apply for a change of premise with an out-of-quota license, though. You know, that's what I'm asking for this. I mean, change of premise, not being an expansion
If they're
of footprint.
if
I'm
they're-
talking about, yeah,
if
that's
they're
what you're saying.
connected,
It'd have to be connected.
They'd have to be
But
connected.
it-
Then no,
and,
they're-
yeah,
And
they're-
all they would
so,
need is
I mean, that's
alteration of
something that has to be
premises.
taken into account when people come in.
Mm.
That they have to like realize that, you know, because these are gonna be, the people coming in for these licenses are going to be newer businesses starting up. And starting a business is gonna be in a smaller area. You know, if they expand, then, you know, it has to be specifically said to them that this license cannot go to this other area with you now.
Yeah. Well, it would be able to stay there, but if they expanded,
If they expanded, yes,
That would
but
be
if they moved from the first
One
floor to
side,
the
yeah.
third floor, it could not do that.
yeah.
And that's just how, I mean, legally, that's how I'm interpreting how they wrote it.
You're making complete sense. But I think maybe then that opens it up for a different question, which is, are these, and was one of the questions I had, is are these technically considered by the ABCC out-of-quota licenses? They are definitely considered that.
Yeah, because the quota is.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I thought that if they were, and this is, because Northampton had done this, what we're doing now, and I wasn't, because I remember Billy Sullivan had talked about this
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah.
And I thought that when the Commonwealth issued those additional licenses, they were technically out-of-quota licenses, but they weren't necessarily, they didn't operate exactly the same as an out-of-quota license.
Well, when you're
What
reading the
saying, you know,
verbiage.
it's saying the same thing.
It's saying basically
they are,
over quota,
you know.
because you can't change the location, so.
Well, that's right, but are they specifically, I don't see where it actually says that's
It
what they
doesn't,
are.
doesn't say over quota, but when they're explaining,
It's the way they
That's what
normally
an
handle
overquota
an
is,
overquota license, yeah.
exactly.
I don't know.
So that really has to be taken into account. And these are just things that, you know, a good attorney's gonna come in here and point out to us.
Well, we have one at our disposal.
Right.
I think we're gonna need to have specific questions for John. Let's go.
It's just a question, Kelly. Nikki, where it says the business area, where are all these licenses gonna go in the business area? I mean, how many more restaurants and bars can we have down Cottage and Union Street?
Well, it doesn't
Where-
necessarily,
where-
doesn't necessarily need to be a new business. It
No,
can be an
yeah, but
existing business
where
that's
would they
all
even
alcohol.
go? There's no location for them.
Well, I think they're just pointing it towards the downtown business district.
And the
area,
mill, and the
And the
mill.
mills.
Yeah. You're saying where in those districts, or you're
Yeah.
saying out
Yes,
of those
yeah.
districts? Well, you already named one. I mean, what if the people at the mobile station decided
Yeah.
they wanted to do something?
Yeah, I'm just.
What if one of the
And then
houses,
they-
one of the houses on Cottage Street that are along there, you know, across the street?
Well, yeah,
What if
I mean,
one of
I'm
those comes
just-
down, you know?
I'm just-
Well, and you also have the Manhan,
Yeah.
which is up
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's just a
yeah.
question.
I mean, there could be a few
Yeah.
within this downtown area,
Yeah.
but then the mills,
You could fill them up.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was just,
Yeah, yeah, you're just asking,
I'm
exactly.
down here, I'm just,
Yeah, you're just curious, yeah.
But I don't think technically, you were talking before about, you can't sit on a license. I mean, if we get
No.
9 applications in here, yes, we can use the criteria that preference is to be given to the mill and downtown when looking at it, but we have to issue those 8 licenses at that time, if everybody has legitimate applications in.
I agree with you. Yes. No, I agree with that completely. And I think it may be just an exercise in understanding it, just thinking about how that's going to work. I mean, are all these we're gonna get 8 applications all of a sudden?
Well, we
I
already
mean,
have, what, 5 letters of intent?
Technically, we only have a few that are on file. Going back over our minutes, we have one from Keystone that's on file. We have one for
Luthier's.
Luthier's.
And I mean, Luthier's is existing, you know, an
Mhm.
existing entity.
Right.
Albeit
Where
they
was the
believe
other
they
one?
were gonna expand, they said they wanted to
Luthier's.
expand,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was gonna be the reason
This
for it.
other,
And they wanted a
company,
full license, they
Keystone.
don't have a full license.
Correct, yes.
It's just a
yeah.
company
And that's, I
that
think,
gave a letter of
that's
intent. They
what
don't
I would
have
imagine
anything
we're
right
gonna
now.
see. Maybe, I can't guess what percentage of them are gonna be, but I know some of them are gonna be existing businesses that don't have full alcohol licenses.
Well, that's
that are
the
gonna be
other
looking
one,
for it.
the Amy's Place, she put a letter in
You have to go
for the
look at our-
library. She wanted to have a separate license for the library, because right now it's off of Amy's Place.
Right, yeah, I remember
So, yeah,
There's been people that have talked, but officially letters of intent.
Mhm.
When you look in our notes, there have only been a few. But there have been people who have said, I can send a letter in.
But I think we
But as
need
far
to
as us
take that
accepting
into
them.
consideration, the letters of intent that we've gotten in, and.
And those
keep-
individuals do know that was in no way a
Right.
guarantee or even saying that we were
It's not like
accepting
they're
an
going to the front of the
application from
line
them.
because they
Right.
Exactly.
But I think that if they're putting in their, they need to move along then. They just can't think that we're going to wait till they come to us. They need to get their applications in here. I
I've also-
didn't give them a slot of wait time.
Correct.
And I've also told people that I'm not accepting applications until the board had discussed this and they came up with a plan that you thought was acceptable as far as, receiving them in, time frame. So that's another thing was, like I said, are you gonna put a time frame on just to wait to see how many come in?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd rather not do that.
I'd rather not. If they got one,
I mean,
They come in.
I think this was really the reason why I would have liked maybe if someone from the city council was here. I mean, I guess we don't really need it, it's just like, I think I sort of understand what the spirit of this is. But if we're gonna hold to that, then the spirit of this is growing, for business growth, then if we're going to give preference to people in the mill district or the downtown business district, well, is it then, would give preference to someone who's starting a business over someone who's got an existing business, who's already got some sort of license to, you know, one of these, or whether it's beer, wine, whether it's seasonal.
Well, and that's what I was saying, you know, if you get 9 of them in, I mean, that would be the one that would get put to the side. If they've already got an existing business, they've already got a license that they're serving.
Oh, you think? What?
I just feel that if it's a new business starting up, I think they would get the preference for the license.
Okay.
But without
Why do you
putting
think that
them.
though?
Why?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
think
I'm not
that-
challenging you, I just wanna know, I mean.
Because I think the intent of the city council going and pushing for these was to bring more commerce into the city.
Okay.
And if
I'll
it
buy that,
exists-
I don't know that if that's necessary, I mean, I certainly don't think it's up to us to be able to
Well,
project into the future whether or not giving someone who's already
And like
got
I said in the past.
a license of some sort over someone who doesn't is going to
And any
necessarily
good
be more
attorney's gonna
growth.
come in here and tell us, no, you can't do that. You know, yes, this is what their idea was, but my client is here, my client has an application, my client, everything is correct, you know. So that's why.
Well, again, yes, I mean, if we're
It's
getting them, if we're
become-
getting them one at a time, then I think it's certainly going to be more challenging.
Yeah.
Than, or less challenging than if we're getting 2 at a time, because it's gonna be kinda clear, you know, if
Right.
you get, you know,
But I have a
if there's
feeling
only
that-
1 left and there's 3 in front of us, well,
Yeah.
if 2 of them are not within that district, it's gonna be a pretty easy choice as to which one, as long as the one that's in the district meets the criteria, blah, 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 you know? It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It just as they come through, and if we get 3 all at once, and then that's 3 that are available.
Right.
And that's still the question in my mind is like, well, when are we putting on the brakes and going, okay, hold on, we've already issued 2 that sound like great ideas, a good business, solid business plan, you know,
But it's
everything
not
is
gonna start
there,
for 4
you
years.
know.
What do you do then?
Well, okay, well, that's a little different story, but I mean, oh, I hate to say shovel-ready. They're ready to go, they have everything in place, I mean, all things considered, we would be approving this in a heartbeat, and it's gonna fly right through the ABCC. You know, we give 3 of those right away, and it's like, okay, and they were outside of this district, well, are we then putting the brakes on and going, okay, well, hold on, next one that comes in, are we saying, well, hold on, you know, now we're gonna be issuing 4 of the 8 that are not going into this district.
I don't think we can. I don't think legally we can. I think if their applications are in place and everything is correct, I think we have to address it that way and approve it if everything is correct. I think this is more intended if they all
I
came in at
understand.
one time. That gave us a way to make a judgment. But I don't think that we can legally say, we're only gonna issue 2 for the first 6 months and 2 for the next 6 months. I could be wrong. This would be where the city council,
Okay.
the city solicitor
Yeah, I
will
mean, because
answer
it
that.
says the licensed authority may consider applications for licenses for establishments located in other districts. So it's sort of saying we may, it doesn't say we shall, it doesn't say we must. So,
Right.
I mean, I think just by saying may, it's already giving us that leeway to say, well, okay.
That's
But,
right, yeah.
you know, everything looks good, but, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. And I think if you got 2 lawyers in the room and locked them in there, they'd argue about that
They
for
would.
a long time.
They would.
So, I don't know, that's why I wanna talk about it, because it seems like when it gets right down towards the end, or when we're getting halfway, 3/4 of the way out of licenses at that point, and, I mean, how long have I've been on, how long have you been on licensing for a while?
Oh, God,
You
yeah.
know, a few years, I've been doing 5, 6 years, and I can't remember
You've
one
been
just
doing 5
suddenly.
or 6?
I think so, now.
Oh, God, yeah.
So,
Longer.
I can't remember a license just like suddenly becoming free.
Well, I'm
you
on
know?
a 6-year appointment, so.
Okay.
So I've been on 6 years, 'cause
It
mine
is,
just
yeah.
came up.
So, you know, I haven't seen licenses just like pop up. You know, someone closes their business and suddenly you have a free license that wasn't an out-of-quota license. All right. All right, covered that. So then, and this is So is the process still going to, it was my impression, when I was attending the city council meetings for this, was that this language was also intended to fast track the process for receiving the out-of-quota license. Whereas before, they had to get, so it had to be signed off on, remember how the process worked. They'd have to come to us, we would have to endorse it, it would
And
have
they
to
would
go to the
just
city
exactly,
council.
yeah.
City council would then
So
get it
this is just
endorsed
gonna
and
be
come back to
processed
us.
as
So this is,
a
they're just
normal-
only up, just like a regular license, so
Yeah.
that process that
exactly.
takes to get to,
Yes.
to the starting point
Yes.
is gone.
Yes.
And so it removes those stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
Okay. But everything else is just the
Yeah,
same. as far
and
as
it
you're
still
concerned.
takes a couple of months.
Yeah, yeah, but they still don't have to do that.
No.
Little circle before they. Okay. So, do we wanna come up with a set of questions for
Yeah.
Attorney Fitzgibbon?
Come up with a couple of questions and then we'll bring them up at
And
the
then,
next
I mean,
meeting.
I'd like to do it soon, because, I mean,
And I'm also going to need to know how to move forward with answering questions when people call, as far as can they submit an application now, all of that. So I'm gonna need to know that, because I'm sure we'll probably end up then getting applications in for the August meeting. So, I mean, the July 5th, it was already too late for anyone to do anything for that meeting, so that was fine.
well, you're giving us a deadline, so that's good.
Yeah.
So,
Once we get it, we got 30 days to make a decision.
No. For them to give the application in for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
August meeting.
Yeah.
So they, in essence, would have all of July to start putting their paperwork together, getting on the agenda, doing, their mailings, putting it in the
Yeah.
paper. But I need to know, say tomorrow, someone calls and says, can I put an application in for the August meeting? Am I allowed to say yes now? Are we moving forward to that point? So about a week ago, I said we're not accepting applications until the board has met to discuss these over-quota licenses, so.
Are you getting a lot of calls for it?
No, I just had like a couple, so.
okay. Can I give you, we'll get back to you on that.
Probably not.
Yeah, I hear you.
We'll let you know the second Tuesday
Well-
next week.
Yeah. Well, what is, Kelly?
And this
what
goes
are your
along with
feelings
your
on
time
that?
frame on, are you just gonna receive them one in at a time,
Well, we don't know.
or, holding off and saying, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I have the feeling as soon as, one business is gonna put it out there, that they're putting their application in, anybody else that really wants them is gonna follow. I mean,
That's-
people are watching this, they really are, and they've been waiting a long time for it, and so I would think that they're gonna be ready as soon as you say, yes, we'll accept an application. I have the feeling we're gonna be looking at least 4 or 5 of them for the August meeting.
Yeah, but after, once we get the application, if I remember right, we have to act on it within 30 days, if I remember right.
And that's usually right, because it comes in,
Yeah.
you do a site visit, and then the next meeting after the site visit, that's when you're going to have them come back again, ask your questions, anything else, and then it's probably one more meeting, so that takes you 30 days right there.
Feeling like a parent is not letting their kids come down for Veterans Day. Yeah. Well, I mean, the questions that, as far as I'm concerned, the main question really for Attorney Fitzgibbon, I think we could come up with that language to ask by tomorrow morning.
I think another thing is also, some questions would be, can we hold on to and not accept applications? So say you get 4 that are gone right away to existing businesses who want to transfer,
That's part
but
of
you
the
want to
question.
save
Definitely.
4
That-
for
that-
new business, can you legally do that?
Yes,
Like,
that's-
that's
that's
gotta be a
definitely-
question.
That's definitely part of the question.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no doubt
A
about that.
cool down period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well then, I guess we can draft a question and have it to you.
You can
in the
draft,
morning.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
Of questions and then-
And then if we can get it right to, city solicitor by.
But did you want to draft them this evening while you're all together? And I
Yes.
can just jot them down?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would.
All right.
Okay. So, first question is what you just asked, is does the board have the authority to, after issuing a number of these licenses to, create its own moratorium on issuing any more, just to keep in the spirit of the additional licenses
Mhm.
being created?
For future new businesses coming in.
There you go, yeah.
Okay, that's it.
When considering two separate applications, one inside, no, when considering applications after licenses have been issued, when considering additional licenses for businesses outside of said districts, clarify the may consider applications as far as something that's outside
Okay,
those districts.
let's redo this, revisit that here.
We're asking, what is our leeway to grant licenses outside
Outside, okay.
of those districts? Now, I did speak with someone about that, and it seems to me that the city council's was in agreement that it should be the licensing, our board's decision, our discretion for issuing licenses that may or may not be outside those districts, but I'd like to see the legal opinion on, at least
Yeah.
our lawyer's opinion on that. If
I mean,
it
'cause
becomes
there are
contentious.
definitely areas outside of, over there, on Route 10, where Howard's used to be, if someone was to come and build a restaurant
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
Those are definitely,
Oh,
a consideration.
Anything in
Of
the,
course they should.
anything in the highway business district,
Yeah.
really. There's
It's
the
just
parcel.
nothing new is
Fedor-
going in that area.
Fedor's parcel across the street from the post office.
in the-
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
You know,
Ever.
the other Fedor parcel on South Main Street, where.
The other
The other
hayfield
Fedor.
on one side.
Yeah, the one across,
Well,
the one
on Main
across
Street,
from Valley
on Main
Sports.
Street.
Where
Where it could have been Walmart.
That's right.
There are large parcels of property. That is the
Stop
largest
and
open
shop going, when they go
parcel
in,
there.
there could be a place right there.
There you go. So yeah, there are, that's not, the downtown business district and the Mill Industrial District are not the only places in town that could have establishments that would like to have an all alcohol license. So, is that,
I'm actually just writing it down.
Okay.
When considering two applicants, does the board have to give preference to the one inside of the district?
I think
So
we
if you
already
come
know
to-
the answer to that though.
Yeah,
because it
but at
says
least you
shall.
have
Yeah,
it.
that's fine, yes. Absolutely.
No, what was the other one that you guys were discussing? We've already asked about the leeway to grant outside of the business district. I can't even speak.
It's fine. We understand.
I think we should be able to, in my opinion.
Oh, I think we can, I just would like that in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's
From somebody.
the wording.
Yeah. Well, the first question also is asking our leeway as far as having some sort of moratorium.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. I think that's sort of a two-part question, which answers asks to the most important too. I guess we're in agreement that we don't have to ask if these are treated exactly as if they were out of quota licenses. We're just gonna say, yes, they are definitely out of quota licenses. They are definitely out of quota licenses.
Yeah.
They have to be treated exactly as such.
I don't understand why that was even put in there, a downtown business site, or the Mill. I don't understand why that was even put in.
I think to get it passed.
Mm-hmm.
I think to get it passed.
so can we give it to the end of the week then? For an answer? And, do we?
We can reconvene on, when we meet on July 5th, and then we should have these answers from the
Perfect.
attorney.
I think that's perfect.
And then that definitely gives people enough
Mhm.
time
Good.
to prepare
Yep. Good.
applications.
That sound good?
It's fine. I won't be here though.
That's right, that's fine. You're not, you'll be around in August.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I can always respond to email.
Anything else on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Need a motion?
The two of you have been largely ignored. Do you have any questions?
From Keystone Events, so I'm sure our lawyer is one of the ones that we've been talking to.
Okay.
He's really just waiting on
Right.
working from.
July 5th, you said?
July 5th is the next meeting, yes, 5:15.
That's a Tuesday.
Yes,
Okay. 5:15?
you got it.
Okay,
I
before.
would think some real serious layout for the mill buildings on how they lay out restaurants and other facilities, as we were talking about there, that these licenses don't go to other areas once if they're surrendered. So serious thought put into the layouts.
All
Where
right.
they can be contiguous all the time, just
Right.
knock walls out to make bigger, because they can't go into other parts of the building.
Before we close, do we want to keep just our discussion about what's going on at Abandoned Brewing?
If you wanted to discuss that,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, let's just
Because
talk about it.
that's general licensing.
Yeah. So, right, so you talked to Ralph, and, but I thought you told me that he said the deck is fine. So just, I mean, I understood what you're saying, but kind of get to what the end of this is.
Okay. On this here, the hallway cannot be licensed,
Okay, yep.
okay? Because we have the
Yep, we
entrance.
understand, yep.
Okay. When I talked to Ralph, it's here. The patio, we thought that we could license it, okay? Which we can. And I asked him about moving here and having his pouring license over here. And he says, no, you can't have that pouring out license out
Okay,
there.
okay.
Okay, so that's completely out of it.
Okay, so what's the point of the deck then?
Yeah. Having somebody else take it,
Right.
okay? That would have to be blocked off. All right, now. There is the bathroom down here, but there's other areas.
Yes.
Down here.
Yes.
How would they be able to control this area?
It wouldn't. This is just gonna be separate. If what you're saying is that let's say the owner of the building gets a seasonal license just for the deck, and all the beer and wine is provided directly by them.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's just this, then they wouldn't have to, because it would just be the door going in.
Yeah.
That's the only purpose of this deck. It's, the license is, if it's owned by the owner of the building, obviously, and he applies for the license,
Mhm.
and he's doing the pouring, but he's buying everything from them. So then none of this the hallway doesn't have to be licensed.
No.
All that goes away.
So the owner would have to apply for the license.
Yes, the owner of the building, yes.
Right.
Which this is me. So
I'm sorry?
Keystone Events and 122 and 142 are the same owners. So this is us as well.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
That's us as well. Is Abandoned Building Brewery is in the Brickyard, which is owned by the same partnership as Keystone and the Brickyard.
Okay. Fine.
I'm just telling you this is.
Okay,
this is-
all right.
I'm just who you're talking about.
Okay, fine, all right, okay.
I wasn't jumping in.
All right, no problem, no
Otherwise.
problem, that's fine. So, then, if the owner of the building applies for and receives a seasonal license for the deck,
Yeah.
fine, then all of this goes away. We don't even have to worry about this right here, because it's just for there. So we're cool with that, right?
Well, who's gonna take out the license for here?
The owner of the building.
The owner's gonna take it.
Yeah, well, he can't.
No,
So
he
will.
can't.
Right. That's what we discussed.
Yeah.
So that's what we thought that, what's his name, the owner of Vanderbilt?
Matt Tarnacki.
Matt, yeah. Matt, what we had discussed with him on site is ask Matt to have, the owner of the building apply for the liquor license, and whether or not they operate it, but it's operated under, it's in his license, and they buy the beer from the Abandoned Brewery, and they
Okay.
serve it here.
No, but
Can I-
if
may I
they
ask a
do
question?
that.
Yes, sorry.
What happened to the controlled access in that hallway? Did Ralph not say that to Mr. Tarlecki?
Yeah, he can't, there should be, there's no way, once they're off that, then get through this hallway.
And we don't like it either.
Yeah.
No, I understand you
Yeah.
don't like it,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering what happened to that conversation of controlled access.
It's basically gotta be blocked off.
I think that's
Yeah.
a non-starter.
Yeah. And the same with this here, but the problem over here is the bathrooms.
Right.
And when I
So
talked to Ralph, it
if
was.
that goes away, we're not even gonna discuss this, right?
No, I'm just saying,
So
we're-
what was
My
your question?
question
The
is,
breweries-
though, if the owners apply for the license there, can they have other licenses in other areas of the mill building?
The owner themselves?
Yes.
I would say no.
Yeah, because you can only have one license.
Right, yeah.
So they need to know that before they go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to know
That's-
that before they go ahead and do that.
We have that. That's good.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
That's what I was
Or
advised to
can,
tell.
can you have a full license and a beer and wine license?
Seasonal.
Seasonal? Can you hold two?
That's where
In the same-
it has to go to his attorney and let him do the advising on
They are
it. We
separate
can't give
buildings.
any advice whatsoever.
I have a question.
But it's
Go
still
ahead.
the same owner.
So you're
it
talking
could
about
be the same.
separate licenses. What about Will Bundy's building?
You have
There
to
are
look at two.
separate,
There are, but he only has one of them.
okay.
You have the other one.
Yeah, he has one for
The
the.
hideaway?
The hideaway, is that what it's called?
And then is the other one for the event
Yes.
space?
Oh, the event space, that's true.
Yeah.
He does have two, yeah. I know. Hideaway.
If you look at your,
Yep, in the list here, yeah.
just to
Yeah,
make sure
there's
that
that
I'm
one.
accurate.
That's the wrong one.
So you've got one under Eastworks,
Right.
and then let's, review it a little further and see.
Eastworks.
Under the Bridge LLC.
There it is.
They're
Yeah.
two separate names, so they're two different
Yeah, but I-
entities.
It doesn't matter
But
because
I'm just, it's the same,
it wouldn't matter because it's such a big building.
it's just you had brought it up, so.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, if that's the case, then that makes it even more attractive to
Mhm.
do it this way. Because I think, and it seemed as if, he liked the idea. I mean, I don't think anyone was in love with the hallway.
No.
In the first place.
All right, one more question. On this patio, how are they gonna gain access to it?
That heavy.
Oh, wherever it
Yeah.
is.
They go through the door.
Okay, but how do they get in?
They go through the hallway to get in.
Yep, so they gotta come way over, well,
Come in
because I
here.
can't see.
Yeah, they come in here, go down the hallway, and go to the deck.
Okay.
So I don't think that's an issue.
The main building entrance.
This is where we came in.
Okay, okay, that's.
That's where we came in.
That's where we
And then
came
come
in,
there's
okay.
this hallway, and then this way goes into the brewery proper. and
Okay,
down the
that's-
hall, this is
all right.
that way.
That's where we came in, so there's,
So have you heard from him?
He stopped in, but I think this is something that once it's on the agenda for next month, you can discuss with him,
Fine.
because he would have
Okay.
to do an application.
Excellent.
Or however you're figuring this out, he
Okay.
wouldn't be doing it, owners. So I think there's a lot that needs to be worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
fine. All
So
right.
we're only going to address the application with the description that's revised.
Yeah.
That'll be
Okay.
on the July
And-
5th.
That clears it
Let
up.
us do a little bit
Licenses
more
are
research on it
different from
first,
the
if you don't
bulk.
mind.
And did Tandem go through?
Tandem got kicked back because the check wasn't signed, so it had to be signed and mailed back, so it hasn't gone through yet.
Okay. And are they still, do you know, I mean,
If you don't, it's fine, but do you know if they're still on track to do that soft opening with?
That already happened.
Oh, it happened?
According to Facebook.
Really?
I guess I wasn't
There were,
downtown then.
no, people seem to
Which
like it.
one are you for?
So,
Keystone Events,
It
which
was
is
Saturday.
with the event space within Keystone, which is 122. Can I ask a question?
we
regarding-
can't, the board
Oh,
cannot
okay.
answer.
Oh.
You can put it out, but
Okay, I was just.
it's
this
only
is the-
public speak, yeah.
If I'm out of line. just-
Please,
yeah.
it's fine.
This is the first I've heard of the hallway being an issue. Is there gonna be a requirement to shut down the hallway?
No,
No.
the question was is whether or not the hallway had to be licensed for alcohol
Oh, okay.
in order to enjoin the two, which
I
we're
see.
trying to
No,
stay
we
away
wouldn't
from
shut it
entirely.
down.
And so now, it looks like the hallway is out of the picture if things go well, which is a good thing.
That was my only question.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
Motion?
Make a motion that the meeting is over.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Super. Awesome. So,
Thank you for coming.
you're gonna send that to?
Yes, I will take care of that tomorrow.
Awesome.
So what about this? By not being here for,
What we doing?
what's that?
How you doing?
Let me,